Catherine Mabu Project, Adeosun, Chief Taro Adeosun, you're welcome, sir. Gengade Fry, you're welcome. Olamide Oluokaye, you're welcome. Okifabola, you're welcome. Sunday Testimony, you're welcome. Odette Latif, you're welcome. Samuel Abuluye, you're welcome. Obot you're welcome. Academy Grace, Dr. Mon Amadi, you're welcome. Chama Anipulato, you're welcome. Bega Yuga, you're welcome. Tayo Egosta, you're welcome. Kari Frishara, you're welcome. Kami I'm still waiting for others to come so that I can say and move on to give so much effort on the recognition. So there are many that comes up and I'm able to catch up with our quality. And I'm not able to recognize you, just know that you are very special and warmly welcome. Thank God because every one of us here. Now, I don't know, we have access to the program. Okay, thank you so much. Once you scan the barcode, including your registration, you have access to the program. And we're trying to get trailblazer here. We're talking about writing for the media. I want to talk about media. What comes to mind is technology now. So that's what we're going to paper this afternoon. So that we can actually practice what we preach. So, introduction, we are on item 3 now. Introduction of the book and the author. I have only copies of the book, Writing for the Media, and Monetizing It. And I'm sure the second segment of monetization actually will be very capturing, interesting to all of us. Because we don't want to work again, we don't want to write again. It's very important that we get rewards for all our efforts. So I have the book before me. The question is, what is the book all about? What is the book all about? Let me read out what I have here. Writing for the media is about the craft of writing in simple, clear, and relatable language. It provides a step-by-step approach with lots of examples about writing, especially for the media and beyond the media and such, and can get value from content. It provides the tips and insights on media law, writing for impact and simplification, generative AI, originality, and also how to manage feedback and trolls. And as a matter of fact, when I was going through this book, it actually transported me back to my days at NIG, Nigeria Institute of Journalism, where I was taking classes in print journalism. And some of the content actually resonates with me. Of course, I still remember some of them. But this has taken it further, because there are parts of the curriculum that were not there then, as already included in this book, especially the issue of generative AI and managing feedback and expanding advancing your scope and engagement as a writer. So the book combines the author's not only his own experience, but other experience of writers and journalists, of the seasons that craft their narratives, and how writers, we have many of them here, can take advantage of and be rewarded by the evolving trends in the media. The book provides the seamless format, and for each chapter, the learning and reading objectives, the content illustrated with experiences of several writers and renowned authors, including himself. We have takeaways and summarizations and exercises to help readers reflect more on what they have read and to improve on their recall and usage. And there are a lot of resources here for your references and your reading list. So writing for the media will actually enrich your reading, not only for media-oriented people here, but in whatever profession you are. Because I see a lot of content that goes outside the media here that actually impacts your daily life improvement and development. A round of applause for these resources that are able to make it. It also comes to the workbook that gives very clear guidelines and steps on how to actually put what you have learned from the book into practice and to track your progress. I've tried to work with a workbook and it actually is very engaging, stimulating, and at the same time challenging. Because what we have here is a tool for critical thinking development. What we need to advance in a modern age. Once again, a round of applause for the book. So let me just see, because we have some students here that will be interested in having copies of the book. When I went through it, I told myself my students must have, this, access to this book. And therefore, there are access to soft copies, online copies. The moment you scan that code, you go to the Adeosun page and it directs you on how to get copies from Stella or Lulu, and you can also call the WhatsApp number here to have a copy delivered to you. If you're here today and you don't have a copy, I don't know. I'm not here to do marketing. So I'm just here to advance knowledge and self-improvement. Now, I also have good news for the students here. This book, when I got my copy last year, or my copies last year, talking about what book I got both, I think about over 10,000 naira. And I told him that will be way out of the life of students. But he's a very magnanimous man. I've known him for over 30 years. And this morning gave me good news that for the first 10 students that are able to get a copy, we actually have two, the workbook and the book itself and the workbook. It is two of them for a stipend of 5,000 naira. Can we say thank you to him by our applause? So that's a good news. So the first 10 students, this is one of the targeted students. It is. But I'm not sure where we'll see one. So we're not talking very much about adult students and very experienced. We're talking about people who are just starting to launch their writing career so that we can support them as much as we can. So please, for the first 10 students, the two, the workbook, and this for 5,000 naira. And we're talking about the soft writing. There's also a hardcover writing there. Then for the next set of students, because we don't have enough work to do around, you take the hardcover writing for just of this copy, the hardcover writing for only 8,000 naira. I think that's what I'm talking about. 4,000 naira also. 4,000 naira. Hey, I should take like 20 and do this next time. We're talking about monetizing. That's what monetizing opportunity. Okay, so please grab the opportunity now before so as soon as the done goes through. So the book is a very interesting read, very engaging, well structured in a way that you can understand and flow with it. And you can also pace and pause, you can reflect on what you have read, because there are so many tips put here. So that is that about the book. And I want to appreciate the author, Mr. Adeosun Friday. We call him Jim of Back After. He shared for him. So a round of applause for him. So let me quickly let me quickly read out his bio, which you can also find at the back of the book when you have a copy or when you go to adeosun.com. You can actually have a lot of resources about the man. This is a man who has been practicing journalism for over 35 years, right from his days at the University of Lagos Department of Mass Communication. And I want to talk about a proud alumnus of the University of Lagos. I'm sure Azu will come among those who are ranked, as one. So let me just read the bio of the man we have here briefly. Mr. Oyenike is currently the Senior Vice Chairman and Editor-in-Chief of Leadership in the newspaper house based at the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja. And he has over 35 years experience in journalism. He was the editor and later executive director of publications at Punch newspapers in Lagos. He was also the EIC and co-founder of the Interview magazine, a privately owned monthly question and answer magazine based in Abuja. He is a fellow of the Nigerian League of Editors, was a editorial board member of the World Constitution. Maybe I should become so that thank you. So, a former member of the World Editors Forum and a founding board member of the World Editors Network. He was chairman of the judging panel of the CNN African Journalist of the Year. He is an author, a columnist of local and international reviews, and he has published beyond Nigeria, across South Africa, South America, and even in the US. If you want to know more about the man, because I don't want me to waste time reading his bio, please follow him. So it's not just about knowing more about him, but also learning from him. It's very important. Round of applause for him. So Mr. Adewale, you're welcome. Nice to have you in Unilag. I'm honored to host this event. I don't know why I have to take that, but I don't know, but I'm quite honored. Especially when you consider that I trained under him and I did not, stay in the media, but even then, I'm still using my journalistic experience in my classroom. So my students can testify to that. So I'm blessed to host this event. So without wasting time, we'll go to the reading. And the reading will take, 40 minutes. I'm going to invite him to, I'm sure he has decided on the sections. Not possible that I read all the books or the chapters or the pages, but at least give us tips, stimulating tips that can help us to engage more over the book. So do you have some opening statements before we go into the actual reading?
My check. Okay, good. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just going to dispense with the formalities and then just to change just a while of I'm more comfortable because being an anonymous, but you insist that I wasn't going to follow my so I'd like to also very briefly thank the former president, one of the two former presidents of the Unilag, former presidential advisor, Mr. Adeosun, was also here. Perhaps he was meeting before, but I thought it was important to mention that was said. I know the things that lined up today was set aside, all of those things, just to be there. I really appreciate that. And he didn't appreciate what was here. I'm not thinking and choosing. I know that today is a very busy day in the University of Lagos. Students are taking their exams. And the number of the students here from the Faculty of Education actually would leave this hall to go and take their exams. I really deeply value and treasure that. So this is the first phase of the exam that you are taking. Those who are not here with me, sorry that they are not here because you are going the way we teach that put you way ahead of them. So I must congratulate you for making time out. And again, I congratulate everyone who has come from far and near. My wife is also here. She's at the back. And I can thank everyone, all my folks, this is actually like, I brought my community from Bagudu to Unilag, which was my home for the time. I was there for a number of years. And also taught at the Department of Mass for 3 weeks. So that's not why we are here. So we just go to the business of the book reading. Professor Adeosun, thank you so much for being so gracious and extravagant with your praise of me. I don't think I deserve half as much as you have commended me, but that's okay. And thanks for accepting the honor of being both my mentor and moderator. Now, this is book writing for media and monetizing. You have asked me a question about whether there are some chapters that I like to read. I'd really love to read every single page, every single chapter of this book, but I really don't have the time for that. So I have chosen 5 chapters. And I have not chosen to read 5 of the 15 chapters. I have only chosen excerpts from each of the 5 chapters that I'm going to read. But one thing I guarantee you is this, right? The passages that I have chosen to read from this chapter go to the heart of this book. I guarantee you that 100%. Now, the way the book is written is this. In the 15 chapters, each, apart from the last chapter, which is chapter 15, each chapter begins with an epigram. You know what an epigram is, alright? This is a university, I don't want to undersell myself by trying to explain. Since the way to overcome temptation, according to Oscar Wilde, is to yield. Then when you are yielding, you are no longer tempted by that temptation. An epigram is essentially a short quotation. It's a short direction, that's what an epigram is. So the first 14 chapters begin with an epigram, which sort of summarize the essence of the book. And so, I'd like to start with chapter 1, which is one of the 5 chapters I'm going to read. I'm just going to take just a few passages from there, and I'll be happy to take questions from the prof, which will be my own exam. I'll be taking mine on stage. But the advantage I have over them is I have the book and I'm the author. So I don't know how she's going to happy with that. So now we'll go into the business of the book reading. In the first chapter, I'll start with chapter 1 and take the next step from there. The only way to find your voice is to use it. And that's the epigram that starts chapter 1 of the book. The only way to find your voice is to use it. And that is taken from Mr. Jedula, an American TV and radio and sports journalist. Now, from this chapter 1, I will just read a few passages that summarizes this first chapter for me. And I read from, in case you have the book, I intend to read from page 3 of it. When I started writing nearly 4 decades ago, journalists describe themselves according to the categories of print, broadcast, photo. We work in silos. The mediums of expression were printed newspapers or magazines or TV or radio or read in cinema. Content in these mediums was either straight news stories, commentaries, often in the op-ed basis, feature articles, documentaries, or stage plays that were often recorded for TV or radio. It's a different world today. A content writer can find voice through blogs, and other creative forms that can be shared through social networks capable of reaching millions of people at the touch of a button. Now, that is the first part. Now, I will go to page 5 and continue the reading from there. How it all started. And that is how it all started for me. In my upper 25 years, I will I've experimented a lot from writing love letters. I didn't just say that. From writing love letters in secondary school to several failed attempts at writing scripts for movies. I've also tried my hands at poems. Please don't ask me how that ended. From this chapter, there are some lessons that you can take away. Lesson number 1. You cannot find your voice without trying your hands at some form of writing or some form of content creation. To find, you must seek. Lesson number 2. Finding a model is a good way to start. After secondary school, I met a brick wall when I went to higher school. The principal of the Grey Martins Memorial Grammar School in Mrs. Idiani, where I did my HSC, said these activities were not permitted. I simply went on the ground, writing on loose sheets and pasting these around the school in some form of pseudo-piracy. At the University of Lagos, where I later enrolled to study mass communication, I met Dr. Olatunde Dari, as his name was, who was at the time on leave of absence as the chair of the editorial board of The Guardian, the major Nigerian newspaper. After several failed attempts and drafts bleeding with Dr. Dari's ink, I finally started getting my thesis published in the open of The Guardian. Lesson number 3. Persistence is the key to self-discovery. Remember Jimmy Cliff? And if you can remember one of his songs, you may sing along with me while I keep a bit from Jimmy Cliff. You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want, but you just try. Try and try, try and try. You succeed at last. And if you sang that song, I know how good you are. And if you did it, I also know it. But it's a song that is persistent. And of course, also saying that I automatically found my voice by getting my articles published in open pages of Nigeria as an undergraduate at the University of Lagos. Not so fast. But that for me was a good beginning. Lesson number 4. You cannot give what you won't have. The more you expand your reading list, and the more you make your own list, the more you will likely find your literary voice. Also, very good use of movies, especially ones with subtitles, will be good materials for improvement of language use. A good question will be, how do I test my voice? Remember the studio mic check before the ritual begins. Apart from the language and grammar tools now embedded in many smart devices, you can find a sparring partner. I have more than one. It helps to have someone, especially someone who knows you and isn't afraid to tell you some bigger truths. Have a look at your draft. This form of feedback will improve your self-confidence. Lesson number 5, feedback. I feedback either in written or spoken form from committed sparring partner is vital to self-discovery and personal literary improvement. Take it and use it. And to summarize this chapter for me, will be a few of the takeaways from chapter 1. So one of the takeaways from chapter 1 is the best way to find your voice. And you can start the blog right now. A role model or two will make your journey easier. So find a role model. Expand your reading list. And good things or documentaries or audiobooks are not a bad idea. Find a committed sparring partner or a mentor. Listen to your own voice and learn to improve it. Thank you.
That was a 2-hour lecture. And talking about practice, you told us that you started with love letters. Can we request for maybe copies of those love letters? If Sister Oyenike asked them, that would be very nice to know how you started off and how you romantic can be.
She discovered one to my almost displeasure. She discovered one where we were going to do some things in the house not long ago. And when she read it, I had to ask myself, "Am I right this?"
Into all the things that they are mentioned. I have two questions that will take one because of time. Throughout that chapter, and throughout the book actually, there is a phrase that resonates, throughout. Write the way you talk. Write the way you talk. Because I'm an educator, we always try to teach students the difference of writing. Separate, sometimes from speech. Because of formality, because of time, and so on. I want you to actually expatiate on it instead of, I'm not trying in the modern media to blur the lines between speech and writing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Here comes the man of the letters. Maybe I should just not over to you. Sam mentioned. Thanks, so that's a great question, Prof. Whether we are trying to blur the lines. I guess that all lines is blurring. But I will tell you where I got my idea of writing the way you speak from. I remember, and this is really big because of time. I remember writing a 10 paper once, and I'm sure that those who know me are tired of hearing this story. I wrote a 10 paper from South Africa. And I stayed back when I saw other students were going for their assembly. I stayed back. I wanted to kill the man. I wanted to finish him. So then I wrote and I thought I'd given him my best shot. And I submitted the link to him. And Dr. Dari looked at it and he had a way that he only if Dr. Dari was laughing. He think that the whole place was shaking. A bit like my good friend, Adeosun. I submitted my 10 paper to him. And then he looked at my 10 paper. And he looked at it, and there was a story. He looked at it, and he looked at it. He said, "I wrote this." And I said, "Very proudly, how did I do that?" He said, "What have you been reading?" "Oh, I started reading J.B. Coffee, J.B. Coffee." And he looked at me, and I looked at his face. And he shook his head. What can I do about it? He said, "Doesn't show at all." And then looked at it and said, "This is a classic example of this old journalism." So, you could imagine, of course, he didn't mean anything. He said, "Just go and take this away and go back and write the way you talk." I took the script apart in a heavy heart. But when I took it back, I got an A. So I learned my lesson the hard way. When I learned the lesson, and it's useful to me today, and it's something I want to share. I think it's easier to write that way. You will, especially after writing, I also have a very clear habit of reading what I'm reading to myself, and I try to read it aloud. That way you get the sense. I know that as an expert in the field,
for that explanation and the story. Please take out from here or take away from here is that you should be real, be yourself. And that's what we're talking about, voice here. That's the only chapter, finding your own voice. So you cannot be your wife or the conflict, but you can be you. And therefore you need to culture and nurture the you. The second one is the role of feedback. Sometimes one will write and people, you will give feedback, maybe harshly or whatever. You think they're trying to diminish us. But that is taken as an opportunity for redefining yourself and refining your writing. And as you keep this going, you keep growing. Thank you so much for that experience you shared with us. Okay, so let's go. Before we go to the next reading, I just want to recognize very beautiful faces that are not in a long while. So I want to recognize them. Mr. When I was just a young journalist, so I'm happy to have you in Unilag today. Mr. Barista Nika. Oh, Mr. Shika, sorry, Barista Shika, SAN. You're very welcome, sir. Daddy, am I allowed to call you Daddy? When you look very younger, see the last time I saw you, Mr. Sam or Master. You're welcome, sir. Yes, I'm very glad to welcome, especially I'm seeing some other things, and of course, my husband is here. The husband of the professor, Dr. Adeosun. You're welcome, sir. And I have my supervisor, when I was doing my second master's, Dr. Patrick Oloko, you're welcome. And Professor Patrick Oloko is a professor of English and literary giants. You're welcome once again. He was my supervisor of my second master's. And I have my colleague here, Dr. Kevin Oyenike from SCDT, Dr. Unilag from SCDT Atlanta, and my colleague, one of my mentees, Dr. Oyenike Adeosun Francis, you're welcome. So, please, it is very important that we keep track of all our guests. So, we are doing e-registration. We need to practice what we do. So, there is a barcode that will be taken round. Please, if you don't register, please do the registration, and you have access to the program. Thank you so much. Let's move on. The next reading.
Yes, I'm tempted to just mention a few things just for, of course, more than delighted to that's my social media. It's actually my mentor. And all that his wings, it was I grew up on like that his wings 100 years ago. I never forget those things. Thank you so much. Also, I don't think events today will have to set them aside. Just I see any it's like other people actually. Managing director of this day. If you want to make it your own.
Okay, you're welcome, sir.
And I can survive Alabido, and also my brother from City Point Chivas. City right and left. Mr. Aderinokun, thank you very much. There are students of this that have been meaning for reaching football to these recognitions. That are very important to me. So I promise you I'll just keep straight to opening into our heart. So, so alright, so I will take the next reading from Bishop. That's my God, the spiritual.
Bishop, welcome, sir. Nice to see you again.
Okay, so I'm going to take the next reading from, I'll also close the make it really fast so that we can engage in terms of feedback from the hall. I'm taking my next reading from chapter 9. current is yawning. And it says, and I quote, AI is a tool. The choice about how it gets deployed is ours. AI is a tool. The choice about how it gets deployed is ours. I take the reading, just a few passages. The first time someone suggested to me that a robot could write for me, I laughed it off. Ha 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 ha. How is that possible? I thought the discussion was over. A few days later, he curated a number of my past articles, fed them into a digital loop, and produced a copy that astonished me. Were decades of my literary effort going to be undermined by a generative tool? Was it finally true what Time magazine said in its cover of 5 November 2009, that journalism, an essential part of literary creativity, was finally in its dead throes? Not so fast. By the time I inspected my computer repurposed content closely, I found that even though the artificial intelligence AI tool had made a good effort at copying my imprint, my DNA was still intact. If you have a copy of the book, I'm turning now to page 82, with the subheading Man and Machine War or Synergy. The hour of writing, the hour of AI writing is undeniable. Tools like Grammarly, Jasper, ChatGPT, and others offer a range of services from grammar checking to style suggestions and even content generation. However, the danger lies in over-reliance on them, which will result in losing personal touch that defines your unique voice and style. AI is programmed to follow patterns. It lacks the human ability to feel emotions, the intuition, and the unique experiences that shape the writer's voice. Hence, while it can provide a strong foundation or a helpful aid, it is crucial that your own voice remains predominant. For the benefit of students, I'll just take a small passage about my engagement with AI, when I put AI to the test, just to find out how good it is at answering questions about its utility for writing. So here was an engagement I had with AI. I asked the question to AI. My question was, how do you use AI in your writing process? This was a question from me to AI. And that question came back to me in the form of an answer for Jane. Jane Doe. And Jane said, I use AI mainly for initial drafts and editing. It helps me overcome writer's block and speeds up the mundane editing process. However, I ensure that the final process resonates with my voice by revising extensively. And I asked a further question. Have you found any particular AI tool to be especially helpful? And Jane answers to me, yes. Tools like Grammarly for editing and Jasper for brainstorming have been quite useful. They provide a fresh perspective and they also help me to save time. And then I asked again, how do you ensure your originality shines through despite the AI? And Jane of the AI answers, as he says, it is all about the vision. I use AI as a tool, not a crutch. The final narrative should reflect my thoughts, emotions, and style. I review every suggestion made by AI critically and decide whether it aligns with my narrative or not. And then the final question. Do you have any advice for writers looking to balance AI usage with maintaining their originality? And there's the answer. Understand the AI tools you are using and never stop owning your craft. It is a balance that ensures efficiency without compromising originality. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Beautiful reading. And I actually find your engagement here is so very interesting. I knew you were trying to like navigate and find your balance with it. And I have a couple of questions here. Talking about literary creativity. Of course, which journalism is a part of. How can AI promote and challenge our literary creativity? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great question. Another great question. The thing about journalism is that, again, I like to answer some questions by telling stories. It's okay to tell the story. And so I remember back in the day, and my mom, so she will remember, during the Gulf War 1991, the first Gulf War, much then we didn't have, we didn't have internet. That was before the internet, and we didn't have the. Then there was a satellite, there was this sort of satellite that used to be some of those satellites that I think are very large things, but we could not even afford it. We were just managing, we couldn't afford it. And so I remember then that what we used to do, because they had it at Sheraton Hotel. So we would send this reporter up to Sheraton Hotel. I would do the bottle of tea all day, and then we watch it and then come back and then return, and then Mr. Godwin is there and then was on the editor. We go and do cut out for magazine, ladies dropping home, and all of those. That was, that was journalism as it then was.
So I'm sure some people are walking back my way.
I think that was journalism. We were just trying to report the war, which, if there was a war, God forbid any part of the world today, right then, when you are seated on your mobile devices, remember what was going on in Gaza? We were just like there, real time, and we were witnessing both the horror and the tragedy unfolding just before your eyes. Now, that was the sort of thing that, so they changed. Pointed to the change. They saw sea change that technology, the mobile devices, it has cut off much of the drudgery. Those days, one of the greatest challenges we had as reporters going out to report was going with a tape recorder. You go with a tape recorder and you come back and put the story. There are some people who were doing just transcription. I can't imagine. And all of that comes into that's journalism. Journalism is storytelling. Alright? That is essentially what it does. But imagine the amount of time that you took to gather the news, to process and to distribute the news. That took a significant amount of the creative effort that comes to go to storytelling, which is basically what journalism is about. I remember one story, and I tell another story. Once when we were tired of drivers filling games, to be a newspaper house in those days was also to have a chain of you become a transport company. But not a transport company. But journalism, like content provider. We did everything, including having massive presses and having chains of distribution. And so one of those days, I went with the waiting drivers were coming and went to the toll gates. Drivers will carry lights outside stations and all kinds of things. Outside what they were to use on Angela's race, outside what they were hired to do. All of that was effort we ought to have put into improving the quality of journalism. One of the greatest things that technology has done, it has significantly reduced the barrier of entry. And allow those of us who are journalists to do the main work of storytelling, which cannot be a source. AI cannot, the nuances of the story, the feeling, the mood in this room. AI cannot capture the mood in this room. It can capture you shaking, what you are going through as you are shaking your head. I don't want to. But AI cannot capture that. But that essentially is what journalism is about. Telling the story. So what AI has done is to help us the drudgery. So we leave the basic work of drudgery,
the content we are creating. And therefore, we should not subsume our critical thinking. It is very important because it's a battle, lecturers place at university now. You give students assignments, they give you 100% clear. We keep sending them back and so on. You should not subsume your critical thinking and your creativity on that AI. You should use AI to cause your work, to cause stress your work, and focus on the content of the storytelling so that your voice, your style, and your emotions should rank above the. Thank you for your very beautiful response. So, okay, the next reading?
Yes, so straight to chapter.
Thank you.
After that, there will be 2 more chapters, and we'll deal with the book in a second. So, chapter 13, I start chapter 13, which is making money. We love making money, don't you? Sure. So, I love making money too. So, chapter 13 is actually at the heart of the book, which is about making money. And I started an epigram by Bill Gates, which content is king. And I'll just take a few passages from there. It is good if you train as a journalist, but you don't really need a degree in anything to create content for which you can earn money. While a number of traditional or mainstream platforms and businesses are scratching their heads, wondering where the next client check will come from, smarts in the new creators economy are leveraging value to make earnings. There is a bit of history to the top war that broke out after the increasing adoption of new media in the late 1980s. First, traditional media practitioners didn't take it too seriously. Then, as adoption spread, especially among younger audiences, thereby attracting larger audiences, changing media consumption habits, and shifting advertising spend, panic set. This chapter, and I'm just going to summarize a few of the things that this chapter talks about. What's the following? A, if you're reading with me, I'm now at page 124. This chapter aims to do the following: to share tools for developing minimum viable content, explore how to use data and analytics as guides, explain how to master the art of value creation, show how to lock in audiences and monetize content. And so there are some tips that sort of summarize that I'd like to just take a few of these tips. Tip number 1, the power of 1,000. Kevin Kelly, an optimist and motivational writer, said in an article in Tim Ferriss's book Tools of Titans that 1,000 true fans are all you need to make things happen. I quote you: to be a successful creator, he says, you don't need millions of dollars or millions of customers, millions of clients, or millions of fans. To make a living as a craftsperson, a photographer, a musician, a designer, an author, an animator, app maker, entrepreneur, inventor, you need only thousands of true fans. End of quote. Kelly, whose example was earlier used in chapter 4 of this book, recommends 2 basic steps. A, create a monthly share that can earn an average of $100 per true fan, and have a direct relationship with your fans. Another tip number 3 in the book: specialize. So remember, the first one is power of 1,000, and the second one is specialize. Not many clients will be willing to pay for services that do not have any special value. One of the reasons why the Financial Times is one of the world's most successful paying online services is that stockbrokers and investors generally can hardly match its quality elsewhere. Specialize in what you are best at and do it like no other. And it won't be long before the value you generate begins to earn. And the final tip from this chapter: consistency. Remember, power of and consistently to strategy. Clients don't want to part with money if they are unsure you'll be here during the next Ramadan. It is by consistency that trust in your brand will grow, and with it, willingness by users to reward you. End of reading from this chapter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Takeaways. Power watermelon, specialization, and consistency. I hope we'll write this somewhere where we can easily see it every time. Thank you so much for that beautiful reading. And making money. When I saw the epigram, I laughed. I'm talking about making money. I'm talking about content is the key. Content is the key to making money. I was expecting something like, money is the key. Okay? Don't you think so? Money is the key. We're all looking for money. But I actually got what you're talking about. Because you don't set out initially to make money from the interview that when I was going through the theology and the rest, but persistence, standardization will take you there over time. I have two questions around this area. The first one is that when I look at the stories of the people that actually read this chapter very well, of the references you made to people that relate with making money through the media, to the Enos, Unilag, KG, Adeosun, and so on. I saw that these people writers, not talking about writing, but they actually writers. They use a lot of multimedia images to beef up their contents. And my questions to you. You know, when we were in the journalism school, we were taught inside us, if you are in broadcasting, you don't have any business or print, photography, advertising, and so on. But we see those people, put in the story of all these experiences together to push their content. The questions, because I'm the curriculum developer, and I know we have lecturers of journalism here, how does this affect, the journalism curriculum in Nigeria? And how do we start looking forward to incorporate all of this together? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that basically what is happening is that journalism curriculum and journalism teachers, and I like to think I'm a pseudo journalism teacher, we have to try to catch up with changes and evolution in technology. Because if you look at the curriculum and some of the textbooks that students who study journalism use, let's just leave it at that, right? So we need to do a whole lot to catch up, which was one of the reasons why I have written one of my motivations for writing this. As a matter of statistics, I know that in 2021, 12,401 students applied to study journalism in the 136 journalism institutions in Nigeria. The previous year, that was about 2,000 more than the previous year, which was 2020. You can say it was the COVID year, so we have affected admission and all of that. But journalism is the fifth most subscribed course and stream data, statistics, and but then you ask yourself, what are the resources, what are the tools available to students to use? It does seem like we have to learn a thing or two from non-traditional journalism. And let me just be honest with you. Journalism has benefited a lot more from the diversity from non-people with non-journalism background that come to it. Far more than we are often being to admit. So the point is that we could use, I'm not saying everything that some of these content creators do for money is right. No. But I'm saying that what we need to do, we could learn from how they use these tools. And because we are trained as master storytellers and get ahead of them, we're not doing enough of that. And the place to start, in my view, would be from the classroom. How we can use storytelling tools. The truth about it is that if you look at people read, there is an acute shortage of attention span. People, the attention span has gone way down from what it used to be. So long form writing, people are still trying to develop long form writing, but it's not as popular as it used to be. 60-65% of Nigeria's population are people you find playing this playground. So you then have to ask yourself what kinds of tools to deal with it if you want to teach it. Where I end because of my time, I remember my son came to my office Saturday ago, and I got a bunch of the file of this book. I gave him to read, and he just took it politely and took his time to continue. I said, read papers. They all are ready to pass. How much do you mean what I read? I'm thinking about everything that I want to read. This is the thing that brought the money with which I achieved. Why was I doing this to you know? But the fact of it is that he had consumed all the news he wanted from the platform, from his mobile, from the devices in question. We need to, and there are tools that can make consumption and engagement with content easier. We have to find and learn and use these things and introduce them early on in our schools and in our newsrooms.
Thank you so much for curriculum review. Thank you so much for being here in journalism. It was across all professions. Because knowledge is no more in silos. It's what you can do with what you have. And therefore we keep learning, we keep engaging. And that story actually reminds me of when we were growing up, I was always following my uncle to the Anglican church. And always on board behind the back pew that would come with tribune and punch and ballad to be reading the newspapers all through the service. I don't think I see anyone doing that now. Do you remember? And they will read from page 30 down. They are just accompanying the children and the elders to the church. They will just read page to page. But now, even before you buy this, I wonder how, of course, that's why traditional media houses are also trying to reinvent, which is the next chapter actually, reinventing yourself. Because we have, like you said, less attention span and just want to get the gist of the matter and leave the rest. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so next reading, we will just we have about 28 minutes left. Yes, so we're keeping track of time.
Yes, so I would suggest that some of the examples in chapter 14 that we already shared. So if it's okay, and I'm happy to engage after, I have to spend the whole day here just having a conversation. But for time's sake, I was going to suggest that I just share the epigram, speak slightly to the epigram, and then go and read chapter 15 so that we can have time to get feedback from it.
That's okay.
So, chapter 14 is reinventing yourself in changing times, as Prof said. And the epigram that introduces this chapter is a quotation from one of the gurus, Stephen Covey, the 8th habit, which is from effectiveness to greatness. And he said, and I quote, your power to choose your direction, the direction of your life, allows you to reinvent yourself, to change your future, and to powerfully influence the rest of creation. The power to choose, and the power to choose right. That is essentially what this chapter 14 is talking about. And the two basic examples when you go to chapter 14 and read it are examples that I took from the lives of two people whose journey I found very fascinating. Professor Tony Falola, whom we all know, at 71 or 72, Professor Tony Falola is so active in both this place, and I asked him the question, why is he doing, I just read his response, and then that would be it for me. So here's what Professor Tony Falola, who has really, he's a 70-year-old man and he's so super duper active in whole living. So I asked him, I said, look, Prof, what are you competing with young boys like us? And he said, old is not defined by age. Old is not defined by age. People talk about logical and biological approach. That's something people talk about sociological approach. But the fundamental lessons which we portray for the last is that hope is not defined by the Oxford. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take any.
I think we should just move to the next chapter.
Excellent. So we'll take the last chapter, chapter 15, and this is the only chapter of the book which does not have an epigram. Again, it's the interview I had with two iconic journalists, Mr. Oyenike, who's a Pulitzer Prize winner, and the first and only Pulitzer Prize winner so far, and one of the iconic young ladies who called the care of herself as well, Adeosun. I had interviews with them, and I just did, excerpts of my interviews with them, starting with the interview I had with Mr. Oyenike, which was his first major interview after the next experiment. This was the first major interview that he gave. And so, here's one of the questions, one of the interesting questions I asked him. What special skills does a writer require to distinguish himself? Repeat. What special skills does a writer require to distinguish himself? And here is what Mr. Oyenike said. First, a commitment to the craft itself, that you love it, that it is not something your parents told you to do, and dutifully accepted. That was the first thing he said. Second of all, I just one or two things. Second of all, I asked him, and he said, the second thing is that you have to be a committed journalist. You can't be somebody who is jealous of bankers any more money than you. The second thing for me is that commitment allows you to apply yourself over time to get better at practicing your craft. The third thing he said, and I'll stop at number 3, I think that you have to have an abiding sense of justice and fairness in this world. That it is important to you that through your work, some measure of justice, occasion, and manifest. Those are the 3 fundamental things he said that go to the heart of my interview with him. And then let me also just speak a bit extra from my interview with Adeosun. I will end with that. She walked busy, she's just very impressive and intimidating for and so I asked her the question. Let me take this question. I said, how can young writers use artificial intelligence to improve the quality of their work without being over-dependent on it, or perhaps yielding to its abuse? And this is what she said. By understanding that AI abuse will ultimately kill the profession, knowing that human beings generally crave connection and identity, and you should keep that in focus. Many people will watch TV because they like the news. That's connection. Growing up, people bought newspapers because of their favorite columnist. Because their favorite columnist was writing for the day. That is connection. The more we dilute connection, the more we are at risk. End of reading. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have 2 minutes to the end of this segment. And we don't have 3 questions saying that but I'll take only on so that I can say that the chapter title is actually In Life, Love and God Matter. But I saw that this chapter actually went beyond that. Because it looked at the life of 2 prominent journalists that traced how they were able to nurture their growth to international recognition. And talking about connection now, because that was a summary, connecting to people through your content and also connecting to God, because they were talking about grace of God, So connection. Now let me ask you this, which is more important? The depth of your writing or the spread of your readership?
important to get to write in a deep, profound way. And I remember asking this is the master of long form writing. I said, look, it looks like we are going to be an Indian now. He said, oh, and then he still invested in long form writing. So for me, it's important that writing has, because journalism is about meaning and context. Essentially, that's what journalism is about. Any other thing is just invention. Meaning and context. You know, people have heard that what was the biggest stroke? Okay, the Pope Francis died yesterday. So if you are telling me today that Pope Francis died, you are wasting my time. Alright? And I'm not saying that out of lack of sense of lack, but as a news consumer, you must tell me what does it mean? What does it Francis mean for the Catholic Church? For the 1.4 million followers of the Catholic Church? What does it mean for the Expo? And for his agenda as a change agent, for example? That's meaning, that's context. So, for me, writing has to have depth for it to be meaningful. If you can get people to connect to it by using various forms of technology, which is one of the great things that technology has done for us, we're able to connect with far better audiences, right? But I'm not obsessed by followership. So if I don't have, there are some followers who have some content who have more followers than all the visitors in Nigeria put together. I keep it. But that cannot really, that does not enchant you, right? What I'm comfortable with my space, alright, and with the purpose of the message that I intend to share. Doesn't mean you're always right. But for me, if you can get the message as far as possible through the various devices that are possible. But I think both are equally important. But one should not be obsessed by either of them.
So in other words, we need to create awareness and focus. And I infer from some of the interviews, focus on the depth and the connections to keep expanding, because people want to see the meaning, like you said, in what you're reading. Thank you so much. Thank you. So a round of applause for the author for taking us through this beautiful reading session and question and answer. And I am sure we have a lot of takeaways from here. But please, this is just the tip of the iceberg. You need to get engaged. When I say engaged, I'm not saying just reading. There are different levels to reading. So engage with the book so that you can deepen your knowledge and your practice of journalism. Thank you so much. I'm very time conscious because I'm trying to be like Mr. Zoo. We have about 18 minutes left. Half of the 18 minutes we'll use before I go to the next item, I just please we're in Africa. I have my 3 beautiful sisters here, and they are also the sisters to the author, Mrs. Adeosun. Please, you're welcome. Alaja Mohammed, you're welcome. And Alaja Jami, you're welcome. When you see these 3 powerful women, go to sleep, actually. And they are also my sisters, so you're welcome. So thank you. I also welcome the rest of us that join us in the course of the program. As a quick reminder, please, there is a scan code being taken around. Scan this so that you can register your presence at this event. Thank you so much. So we quickly go to item 5 on the agenda, which is question and answers and comments. And because we need to spend time, we should restrict it a bit. So we'll take the first 3 and we'll allow the authors to answer the first 3, but if we still have time left, then we'll not take the next batch. Please forgive me. We'll probably take more than half hours. Please, I need someone to come and take the mic. So I need you to raise your hands up if you have questions. Okay, Adeosun Lateef. Adeosun Lateef is an undergraduate of University of Lagos, one of my best students, so that I'm happy about that question. Okay, now let's begin. Can I be gender sensitive, sir? And age sensitive. You can always engage the author. Okay, the young lady from NIJ, you're welcome. And, okay, Professor Oloko, okay. So let's start from Monetising. same time.
Thank you very much, ma'am. My question is twofold. The first one is what Mr. Azu has already pointed out, but I just need clarification on it concerning using social media and at the same time working for this newspaper outlets. Some of us are being from, as a kid, has been to be able to also work. As a young person, I used to read from Tribune, Sunday Tribune, and a lot of that. So that I joined at home. I also want to write as columnist, these and that, papers. But we feel that that is quite out of reach now, since there's the availability of social media for us to use. So you advise us to also delve into aspects of our career, or just focus on the media part, or the social media part, using internet, something like that. And then, secondly, is the issue of fast checking in the news outlet. Using AI do you think AI is reliable enough for us to fast check news that we want to publish out there? Thank you very much.
Talking about blogging, exploring with social media, exploring their writing skills with the social media, then fact checking of AI, data. What's your name? Please have your mic. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Victor, resident of Oyenike. And I like the fact that it's not just the book, there's also a workbook for, especially for students too. So by the time we go to the workbook, if the workbook can also help us to understand, because we can get to a part where there's a question that we don't understand. It will actually take us back to the book to help us understand more. So I'd like to know how long did it take you to write this too, and what were the challenges? And I also like to know what's your writing routine like, and how do you stay motivated?
Beautiful questions. Thank you. So, Brian, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me follow up with what she has said. And even the fact that we are also talking to young people that we are still mentoring. I came in when you were saying that you should write the way we speak. I don't know what context you will give to that, because we always taught our students to do exactly the opposite. Why? Because you need to be able to move your writing, from your speaking to your writing, develop your writing skill very adequately, and then get to the point when you write the way you speak is at that very advanced stage where it becomes possible to let you to write memorably and then speak memorably. So what context did you give to that? Because it should be the other way around. Develop your writing skills adequately before you begin to speak well or write well.
Thank you, Professor Lockhart. So to take the first lead, and for that question, this is, an academic setting. We interrogate knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. I almost thought I was in the market. well. Thank you very much. The feedback that I received is an indication of the level of engagement. And I really deeply and genuinely appreciate see more people tuning. I know there are folks online, and all of that, who may like to drop their questions in the chat room. But I can't take all the questions now. I'm more than happy and available to do all the questions after, because we know there are people from different parts of the world engaged in this exercise and watching us as we speak. Now let me start with Prof. if I may. By the context in which I said right the way you speak. I know that for us as Africans there are multiple challenges to expression, especially in the mother tongue that is not ours. Some of us will first of all think in our mother then we translate it. I think we see you first of all thinking of what that comes. Now I think we see yes, I mean, translation. So that really that can potentially present an obstacle to self-expression. I understand that. But the context in which I was talking about right in the way to speak is that the temptation also, if you also develop that protocol, so to speak, of which we, it's just to keep it simple. Some people, and I gave it, it's just for simplicity and for authenticity. So that people, when they hear you, when they pick up the script, there are some people, if you pick up their writing, if you really put it down, you know that they are the ones writing. But if I choose to write exactly like Charles Dickens, or like Salmon, or Oyenike, or my President Defayi, or Federation, you read it, because as you read what people write, you are hearing their voices, even though you are reading text. So you ought to be able to make a connection. That really is the context in which I said that. But I'm happy to take on speak about this a bit more. Then the question is just very simple, very difficult. How long it took me to write the book? It took me a year, 9 months to 1 year to write the book. But the other part of the question, the part of the question is more difficult. What were some of the challenges? If you are in Nigeria, if you want to wait for all the challenges, you want to exhaust the challenges before you do anything, you will wait forever. Because I remember there will be times when I'm writing, generator on the other side, or the generator here, that far, it looks like I've never finished because of distractions. Right? There are a few rules that helped me. What is famously called the 1 hour rule. The 1 hour rule, which once you get up in the morning, this is the up of that 1 hour rule. Remind me, the 1 hour rule. Is it famous? This Amazon, the man, the Amazon man, what's his name? Jeff Bezos. That's his name. He has what is called the 1 hour rule. So there are times, especially in the mornings, he doesn't touch his phone. Alright? He just tries to get the presence of mind to do the things that are important. So I found that in spite of all the challenges of non-labor calls, work pressure, especially if you're also an administrator at the office, I find that I prioritize writing at the time when my energy is optimal. And everybody knows what is optimal time for me or energy will not be for you. So you have to find that place in the center of you where you can optimally express it. For some people, it's night time. Some people are like, oh, they don't sleep at night. Some people, it's first thing in the morning. Some people, just find that time that is optimal for you, and it will help you scale your challenges significantly. You won't remove all of them, but it will help you manage them significantly. And finally, the other question about the focus between being just social media play actors or serious content providers. But it really depends on what you want. I mean, you know what you want clearly. And I think you should talk about being focused. Alright? Some people are just play actors. But even if they are play acting, they make money, they create content for which they get a lot of, so it depends on what you want, I've never been confused about what I want to. Even though my wife said I only journalism, everything else can be failure. I accept completely. So you must know what works for you and play to yourself. That would be my advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that we have some very answers to our questions. We have about 60 minutes left. But can I create the indulgence of the audience, maybe to add maybe some 10 minutes more? Is it okay? I'm before my veteran seniors, 5 minutes, okay, so that I can take just 2 more questions, then we'll close the session. So second round, Professor Oyenike, and one more. Okay, please give us the mic. Thank you. I think I have just one question. That's it. Thank you very much. Which second one? Oh, any visa. Can I go ahead? Please, thank you.
All right, so I listened very carefully, and the area of interest to me is the fact that we that teach the Gen Zs, we find that they are in a hurry. So that perseverance is what they do not have. And now you have told us that we can write things to monetize it. How long exactly do you think they can wait and find that they can't make money? What do you think would happen if you had written and then there was no money? They leave it immediately and look at something that becomes like prank. You know, doing that gives them more money. So what do you say about that?
Thank you. So, thank you. Noted. Senator Adeosun.
Thank you, Prof. Mine is more of a comment and want both of you to respond to it because it goes across both what the author wrote and what happens in academic development about training of students, and then also taking off from the question you asked about whether it's the content of what you write or the follow-up. Now, growing up, when we were in school, it was fun to see our name when you sent the letter to smart. We published, you don't know, something written, and it was published. It was good enough to publish. Because to get to publish at that time, I was enough, what was it called, the gatekeepers. You were about to go through whatever, write the process well. But today, because of technology, there is no Google right and goes on social media, because social media are these things we use. And what I noticed as economists, and I believe you agree with me, is that the time we even take the page to really comments on clinical articles. They are illegal. Abuses, neighboring, what you wrote about, they won't do much. Say you don't understand, but you didn't read. So, what kind of personality? There is no engagement from readers. Very few people really care to comment on what you do. Someone will threaten you, and you will come and if you like what you wrote, they say, brilliant. But if you like it, how will they tell you to write it? How will they get to see? No engagement, zero engagement. How do we go with this? Then some that you read, grammatic errors, language is so poor. Now wonder, what do people learn in school? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe I will answer your question actually. But I will also, because I have one question pending that I didn't ask because of time, but because of this comment, maybe I'll just quickly add it. How will you define the gatekeeping roles of the media in contemporary times? Because, so how do we cope with it? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Prof. Let me start with the first question. I'll make this super brief. Prof, thanks very much for that question. You know, there is what the lawyers permit me to talk about vicarious liability. I think parents have vicarious liability, or guardians have vicarious liability for the outcome or lack of persistence. I'll explain how. So, children are growing up, and you for example, started in a one-room apartment, all right? We're talking about disappearance. And the children, you are grown from your children, you move from one room to two rooms, to flat, to skyscraper, from no car to one car. They don't know, they see things are coming into the house, they don't know what their parents are doing to multiply them, they don't know. Parents don't spend enough time telling their children, thank God for those who do, enough of the story of how they came through. So they just, everything is divided. You were in one room, two rooms, a mansion, provided house. How often do we sit down with them and tell them the story of our own personal journey, which we want them to learn from? I don't think it's either we don't have time or we don't think it's important. But I think the more time we spend, they think that don't mind them, that's how they behave. The more time we spend telling them the stories of our own personal journey, the more likely that they'll be able to find that there are values in our own lives that they have to educate. But if they don't get it from you or don't get that, they'll find it on the internet. And we can't blame them for impatience. So my suggestion, this does not sound like what you get at the good place. It sounds like what you get at the religious gathering. But and it's also, I'm speaking to myself, okay? I'm not just, I'm speaking to myself. I think parents need to spend more time telling, because some of them, they think their life was rosy. And so when they need difficulties or challenges, I don't understand. My father has, what is he talking about?
1 minute.
Okay, so that I think should help. Then, of course, the matter of engagement, which you have more of a comment that, honestly, I don't have an answer. It's the only question for which I don't have an answer. Because it's also the kind of misery for me. How you write everything that you write and all. When you go to from the start to the end, what are they making like? What did we have? What are we showing? Do you understand? There's hardly a link. When I ask for gatekeeping, we find out there's no gate. Alright? Oh, it's a fancy theory of communication. It's very fancy, but it gets attached. Barbarians have seen someone put the gate over. So, I hear some people may be transmitting everything that is happening and it's going online and it's like, where is the gate? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a beautiful time with everyone. Thank you so much for the questions. Professor Aiko, Charlie believes as well. And okay, Mr. Sam Adeyeye, Joseph Adeyeye, you have a question?
No, I did.
Okay, just to recognize. You're very welcome, please. Thank you. I think a number of others also came in the course of this book reading event and the discussion. Thank you so much for being part of us. We have an unanswered question. Okay? We have an unanswered question. Because you said you cannot answer the nature of engagement and how do you refine and so on. But that is the nature of knowledge, actually. I don't want us to close gates, the gates, even though the gate is broken and the gate is no more there. But we can't close the gate of this question. Because the essence of our being here is to develop more our inclusiveness, our opportunity to explore issues and raise more questions. And therefore, even though we are closing this session now, the discussion continues. Thank you so much for being part of this.
Thank you so much. Quickly, we have 2 minutes, and I hope that we will explore that 2 minutes.
Before we give the announcement, okay, this is the announcement anyway, just 2 minutes to protect to this. I'm going to give Sam. Sam is actually PA to Mr. Adeosun Shekwene. Lots of the media engagement you see is actually run by him behind the scene. Round of applause for him. So he will give us in 1 minute information on how we can get copies of the book, both the hard copies and the online.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. Just before I announcement, Keystone people are waiting to give a brief remark. Please, you can come down. Also, you can go to Adeosun.media. You will find, I just saw Mr. Joseph Adeyeye. I know how many nights you worked tirelessly on the Adeosun.media website. Welcome, sir. So you can go on Adeosun.media and find more information about both the author and how to buy books as well. And if you want to buy it physically, you can meet me afterwards. I'll just be sitting down somewhere there and I'll be able to organize you. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. Greetings Afro-Guys.
Great. 1 minute, please. Please slow down.
Hello. My name is Oyenike. I'm from Kiss. Hello. Okay, great. I'm from Keystone Bank. I'm representing the bank for the event. Keystone Bank are very passionate about students, and we have this program on our desk, and we're determined that yes, we're going to be here. We're going to ensure that we partner to have this kind of educative so we have a very beautiful product for students, which is called the Evolve product, designed for students. So with the Evolve product, we help to handle students. We have several projects for students, right? And it's not just for
Okay, sorry, we are actually running against time, so.
Okay, this is better. Okay, so I'm just saying as a bank, we are passionate about events for students, projects for students, because we have a tailor-made products for that. And we also have beautiful products for everyone here. We have our savings account product that everyone can actually sign up. And we have a beautiful product for women here, which is the pink account product. Okay, so I'm enjoying you to please sign up with our products today so that you can enjoy our beautiful services that we render. And I just want to say this briefly. We've had a lot of projects, Keystone Bank, with University of Lagos. We've had a career development project. So we're encouraging students to please sign up because we have several multi-projects for students, and we also have some support that we also give to students. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please, you need our back, so if you need further engagement with Keystone Bank representative will be at the back, so you can see her at the end of the program. Please, the offer will step down as soon as the program is getting class. Then the offer will step down to autograph, a copy of, or the copies of the text you buy. It's not every time the opportunity of the author autographing, your purchase. So it's an opportunity to happen on it now. Now, please, I want to appreciate please, a round of applause for everyone for staying through this event. And I'm sure that, like we promised in our live video of yesterday, we said when you come for this program, you go out better. I'm sure we are stepping out better. Do I have an affirmation? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so enriched by your question. So I want to appreciate everyone. We have different groups of people here, in different strata of Azu's life, friends, families, colleagues, acquaintances, and so on, and students too. You are very welcome. Thank you so much. And for our adventure, you came in the course of the program and we were supposed to actually recognize you, but we could not. Please forgive us. When you work with us, it is for your soul. So you are actually conscious of everything you are doing. Oh, it's so intentional. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Round of applause. I am Oyenike Adeosun. Please, now the Professor of Language and Literature Education and Faculty of Education at the University of Lagos. I hope you had an exciting time. Thank you so much. Can we quickly come up